everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today I have a beginner's easy quick album, and this only takes one of the Stamperia paper packs. This is an 8.5 by 6.5, and it has about 1.5 inch spine. And this is a real good one to learn on. You learn pockets, fold outs, and some other tips along the way, as well as a waterfall. So I'll just take you around, show you what we did here. So when we first open this up, we come to our page 1, and this is our waterfall. And this is a magnetic strap, and you just flip through and you have places to place photos. Lots of places, and also one right here. So if you wanted to. Over here we have a fold out, and it's large. And it folds out, and there is a pocket back there. Now this is a folder, and at the very end of the tutorial I give you some tips on creating some picture mats and folders so that you can lay photos inside. We left this alone in here so you can just plant your photos. And then over here, your picture mats in the pocket. Going to our next pages here, we have a pocket over here with a tuck. And the tuck, you can place a photograph right on in there. So if you wanted to make a picture mat, place a photo on your picture mat, you could frame that in there and then still get other places to get your photos in there. And the paper is just absolutely beautiful. I use the Stamperia Horses for this. Over here we have a pocket, and it came out just really lovely. Coming back here we have a fold out with a pocket, and another thing is this is a little pocket or tuck area right up front. So if you wanted to place a photo on a photo mat and just kind of have it up front there, you could. And we do not do all the picture mats together because everyone has their own size and taste. But like I said, at the end, I did give you some tips and how I do them. This is a fold out. It's magnetic and it opens up. So a lot of places right here to place a photo. You can place a photo here. Opens up again. Photo placement galore. Coming to our last page, we have a double pocket. So in the front pocket I have this, and I made a folder so I can just place photos in there. But also you can use this front part as a tuck for a photograph. So maybe you have a photograph and you can just store it right up front and then have your other pictures stored in the pockets. So that is what we are creating today. And again, this is a good one too if you sell albums and you're going to a craft fair or you sell on Etsy. You're only in it one Stamperia paper pack. So it cuts down your costs. Okay, let's get into the materials list. There's not a whole lot to this. Let's go over the materials list. You're going to need 1 pack of the Stamperia Romantic Collection Horses. And this is the 12 by 12 size, and it has 10 double-sided sheets. So we'll just use one in this tutorial. You're going to need 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard. I'm using the black. You can use craft. These are 12 by 12 size. I'm going to use a 12 by 12 inch size black cardstock. I know right now we're out of the American Crafts. I only have maybe a half pack left here. That's all I'm going to need for this. That's what I'm using, so whatever you have. You're going to need some Tyvek, and all you're going to need is a couple strips off it. Tyvek is a very hard to tear material, and I use this in the binding. You have a choice of either the brown specialty embossed vinyl, or you can use the black. Now here's the thing, if you've already bought one of these and you've taken one of my tutorials, if you have a scrap piece that is 4 inches by 8.5 inches, that's all we're going to need for this. If you don't, just grab which one you want. You only need one. You're going to need 1 pack of magnets, and I'm using the basic gray large. If all you have is the smaller ones, those will work too. I'm going to be using some strips of bling on the roll. Now for this, I sell the one, all I have, because they've gone out of business, is the 8 rows. And all you have to do with this is just clip off the row that you need and the size. Adhesives I'm going to be using is a 3/8 inch score tape. I've got my Art Glitter Dries Clear glue, and also you will want to have a metal tip so that you don't waste your glue. It doesn't all come coming out of there. I've got to clean my tip, that's for sure. If you're using the embossed vinyl sheet, you might want to pick up some Beacon fabric tack. This will help this grab because on the back it's kind of a felt. And it will grab your album a lot quicker than using the Art Glitter glue. Now this will work, you're just going to have patience with it drying. I am going to be using 3 flowers and 1 leaf. I made these, but if you prefer to have packaged flowers, I'll have a link in the materials list on the free PDF downloadable. That can link you up some packaged flowers, and you can choose whatever you want. I will tell you that you can use any die cut flower that you have, and I do have tutorials, and you can just kind of do a search for flower shaping Shellie Geigle, or I'll put a link underneath the video, make it much easier if you're interested in learning how to make some easy flowers. Colors I used. I stamped the image with the Tim Holtz spun sugar, and then I just colored it in with the milled lavender. That's all I did there. Really easy. The prills are what's in the inside, and I used lemon chiffon. It's one of my favorites. And I believe that this flower die that I used came with some leaves, or it may just be from my stash, but I do have a die cut leaf here. And I can tell you that what I used was I stamped the image with peeled paint. I then blotted some of that color on there and then came over the top with crushed olive, just blotting to separate some of the colors. And it looks really nice. And all you're going to need is a double layered one, which is very easy to do. It's not that big. I'll put this up for comparison. It's not a big flower. And then 2 smaller single ones. And then my leaf, of course. Other things that you're going to need for this tutorial is you're going to need a scoring board, you're going to need a paper cutter. You're going to want your ruler, your pencil with eraser, a scoring tool, bone folder, craft knife is very handy, and of course your scissors. All right, let's start putting this together. We are ready to start constructing the base album, and we had some pre-cuts on the free PDF that you downloaded to get started. So we're going to review them. The first thing on our list was to cut 2 chipboard pieces that were 6.5 by 8.5, and it said to go ahead and label those covers. Next, you had a chipboard piece that was 1.5 by 8.5, and we called that our spine. We cut 2 pieces of Tyvek that were 1 inch by 8.5 inches, and we did not need to label those. This is a material, it's very hard to write on. On our black cardstock, what we did was we cut a 3 inch by 8.25 inch piece. And all we did was label that inner spine cover. There was no scoring on this. We cut 2 pieces that were 6 by 8.25, and there's no scoring, and we called this our inner covers. We cut 2 pieces that were 9" by 10½, and we called these our album wrap. There's no scoring. Last, we cut 2 pieces that were 6 7/8 by 8 1/4. We called these our inner pages. What we did, I didn't label both of mine, but what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. So we are 6 7/8 across, and on each one we scored at 1/2 inch. The first pieces that we are going to need are our 9 by 10½ pieces. So right now what we are is 9 inches wide and 10½ inches tall. So up the top I'm just going to put 10½ because that is the height of these. Let's grab a piece of our score tape, and all we're going to do on one of them is place a piece right along the edge without going over on the right hand side of only one. If you are new and never taken up any of my tutorials, this is a step-by-step and very beginner friendly. Next, you'll want to burnish. Burnish is just making sure that you run your tool down over the score tape so that it makes contact with your paper and it gets the air out from underneath. This is very important throughout the tutorial, that you burnish. Even when you're using glue, you'll want to burnish and spread out that glue and make sure that it is nice and flat and making contact. There's no air under there. If you get air underneath your score tape, you can get liftage. The next thing is, once you've done that, flip it over, and if you can see any score tape peeking over the edge, you'll want to clip that off. We put the time into this, so we definitely don't want a sloppy looking album when we put it together. Okay, so what we're going to do is seam these 2 pieces together. And we're not going to cut. I do use this because I have a paper guide. This is what's going to keep me straight. When I remove the score tape backing, this is straight up against the paper guide. And then this one can go up against the paper guide so that I can overlay just over that score tape. So I got the score tape backing off one. I got this one pushed up against. And if you get this on slightly uneven, it's okay. This is our wrap and you will not be able to tell by the time we are done. So I'm just going to do the best I can and overlay this. Next, we're going to burnish that down. We're going to need our chipboard covers and our chipboard spine. Really quick, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our spine piece and we're going to lay it right over our seam so that the seam falls in the middle of this. And when we do that, we're going to leave approximately 1 inch of our cardstock here and 1 inch of our cardstock there. I'm going to show you first, then we'll do it. This piece, here's one of your covers. What you're going to do is you're going to lay it down, leaving a 1/4 inch spacing between your spine and this. This is a wrap style album, so we do need to have that spacing. This one, the same thing. We'll bring it over and leave a 1/4 inch spacing from that spine. So that is what it's going to look like. And when you place these down, it's going to match up to the bottom of our spine so it stays straight as we can. So let's grab our spine piece. And it doesn't matter which side you put your score tape on because it gets covered. So first thing I'm going to do is put my score tape around the outside of the edges like a picture frame without going over if possible. You can always clip off the excess on this. And then I'm just going to go one down the middle. I'm going to burnish that down really good. And I'll just clip off any overhang there. So the craft knife is handy for me because it helps me get it right underneath the taping, the backing of that score tape. Some people use a little hook tool, some people use craft knife, some people just use their fingernails to get that up. Me, it's always easier for the craft knife. Another thing about score tape is you'll definitely want to wash your hands before you handle it. Get the oils and lotions off your skin. Okay, I'm going to leave an inch up here as best I can and center this over. Again, if you do not get this exact, that is okay. So I'll just place that down. I will burnish on the other side in just a bit. So I'm going to put this out of the way for now. And I'm going to grab both my chipboard covers. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around the outside like a picture frame. Now you can tear off at the end or clip with your scissors at the end, or you can wrap it around. I like to wrap it around, it saves me time. However, it will give you a little bit of bulk in the corner. I don't mind that myself, but some people might. So all the way around like a picture frame. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go one down the middle, and we'll go one on each side. Okay, we're going to burnish that down really good. Okay, what we did here, we're going to do here. So let's get that done. I have both my pieces done here. And now I'm going to remove the score tape backing and place it. So we'll place this together. Okay, once again, about a 1/4 inch away from your spine, trying to keep this as even as you can. We'll place it. Time for this one. Coming away from the spine about a 1/4 inch and trying to keep that as even as we can. Once you have that down, you can flip this over and you can carefully burnish your pieces. And you may hear some crinkling noise, and the crinkling noise is just the air coming out from underneath. Next, let's grab our 2 strips of Tyvek. All we're going to do on this is place 2 strips along the edges of our Tyvek. If yours gets a little wrinkled up, that's okay. It does not show. Tyvek is sometimes hard to work with. It wants to do its own thing. And I've got boo-boos on my hand. I know it doesn't look good, but we got back from being out of town at a model kit show, and the dogs were super excited, and my hand got scratched on accident from them going nuts. All right, here we go. We're going to burnish these down. Again, if you got wrinkles in yours, it's not a big deal. So what's going to happen is I'm going to release the backing off the Tyvek, and you see where our spacing is. We're going to just place this. We'll line it up with the bottom of our chipboard spine and cover, and we're going to just place that right on over the little spacing on each side. Here we go. So as even as I can get it. If you get this on crooked, it's okay. You will not see this when we're done. We're going to get the other one on. And we'll go over the other side. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work our cardstock. So we'll place a hand over here on the chipboard, one underneath here, and slowly just start working the sides. And all we're doing is bending up our cardstock, getting ready, because we're going to wrap, but we also need to clip the corners so we have a nice wrap. But to start, we just do this. So once you've got it and you worked it, what you can do is take the side of your tool and just go like that. So we'll go ahead and do that on this side. Just slowly work it. And then you can take your tool and help it out. So now what we're going to do is work on the bottom. Now where your seam is, you may get a little bit of shards of your paper or a little bit of splitting. Don't worry about that. I'll show you what to do in case that happens to you. But just take it real slow. And then we'll use our tool. And we'll do that over here. If you have more cardstock on one side than the other, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all gets covered up. So I like to work from the middle first and then kind of work myself out, especially where that seam is. And then we'll use our tool. So now that we have that down and we've worked our sides, what we're going to do is grab our score tape. What we're going to do is place our score tape right underneath the chipboard so it's on our cardstock, and we're going to frame that all the way around like a picture frame to start. If you get it a little bit on your chipboard, that's okay. No worries. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to place it on the outside or right along the edge here, but you don't have to go to the corner because this part does get clipped off at an angle. So we will just do that without going over. Let's take a moment to burnish down our score tape. The next step is we need to clip our corners. And you can see where the corner of my chipboard is. What I'm going to do is cut at an angle, but I'm going to leave 1/8 inch of my cardstock away from the chipboard. You do not need to measure this because anything we wrap will get covered, the sides that we fold in. So I'm just going to kind of look and see what I need to do and just clip the edges at an angle. And I'll bring this up in just a moment so you can see what I've done. Okay, so here's my chipboard, and I have about 1/8 inch of my paper still left. So with this, I think what we're going to do is we'll fold in the bottom first rather than the sides like I normally do. I'm changed up a little bit. Keeps it interesting for this part for me. So all I'm doing right now is I'm releasing the score tape backing from the bottom. And over here on the side, all I'm going to do is just kind of get that out of the way. These side ones, I'll just place it up. So here's the key. You don't want to pull and stretch. You've already worked the paper, so you just pull it over and press. And then press out like so. If you get some wrinkles, don't worry, we do have something to lay down, so no worries. Let's go to the other side. We'll burnish that in just a little bit. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to release some of that up. And I'm going to get the score tape backing off this bottom. Okay, I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to press, and then I'm going to smooth it out. Time to get the score tape backing off the sides. Now don't fold it over yet because we do need to tuck our edges. So I'm going to get this off here. I'm going to turn this like this so it's long ways. All you do is you take your tool. Now place a hand here and place a finger on the flap down here. What you're going to do is put your tool up against and round the corner. Down over here, same thing. So I'm going to kind of maneuver this so you can see what I'm doing. Placing a hand on the chipboard, one on the flap, and rounding the corner with my tool. Okay? So now all I have to do is press over. If you get pokies right here, you just use your tool to flatten it out. It's fine. So we're going to do the same thing over here. A hand on the chipboard, one on the flap, and I'm going to round the corner. Same thing over here, around the corner. And then I'm going to fold up. Use my tool. Looks good. Okay, now all we need to do is burnish. Okay, here's the thing. I didn't get any splits or shards on my seam, but you may have. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. If you have a shard sticking up a paper right here, what you're going to do, and I'm just going to do this, it won't hurt mine none, I don't have anything, but what you're going to do is just put a little bit of glue right at the edge where your shard is, and then you will wrap it over so it lays flat, that little shard of paper that you have, and then tap a couple times and be done. If you continue to tap, you can tear your paper. So that is how you fix something like that. Okay, moving on. All we need now is our 3 by 8 1/4 inner spine cover. Now this piece is very important. It's going to lay right over our spine. It will cover our Tyvek. This piece here is what's going to hold our inner page hinges. So it's very important that we lay score tape over completely. So the first thing you're going to want to do is lay your score tape and go all the way around like a picture frame. After you've done that, inspect your piece. If you can see any score tape peeking over the edge, clip it. And we are placing the score tape, as you can see, on the side that we wrote on. Next, all we have to do is lay our score tape side by side until this is completely covered. If you have to overlap your score tape a little bit, that's okay. By the time you get to the end, I have one more row. If you have 1/4 inch score tape, you can just lay it right in there. I'm just going to be using my 3/8. I'm just going to place it right on over and overlap. Next, let's burnish. Make sure that's all down. Before I release the backing off here and do this with you, I'm going to bring this up. When you lay this, you're going to lay this evenly so it covers your Tyvek. But you're also going to notice that this piece is shorter than our album. And what you'll do is you will center that top and bottom so that you will still be able to see some of your chipboard here and down here. And that's exactly how you want to place it. So evenly. Just center it top and bottom. So I'm going to remove the backing here and then we'll place it together. Okay, I'm ready to go. I don't want to get my head in the video, but I am going to place this evenly top and bottom, getting it straight. As straight as I can anyway. I think that's good. So now we're going to spend a moment to burnish this down. Okay, next step is place your hand on that spine. And I like to place it so my hand is up, so it is like this. I'm going to move my hand under the cover and I am going to put pressure down on the spine and I'm going to slowly lift this side up. The reason why I use score tape is because if you use glue, sometimes you don't get it completely covered, and when you do that, right in here you will get bumps of air pockets. So that's why. So your album is not meant to fold all the way over. You will rip out your spine in the back. So I just slowly go like this until it hits me right here. Okay, it's going to be stiff. It's new. After a while, it will lay flat for you. So I'm going to do this side now. Place this down, hand underneath, pressure on that spine to keep it down, and I'm going to slowly bend up. If you have any bubbling in here, you shouldn't if you use the score tape, but what you'll want to do is stop and kind of iron that out with your tool. So I'm there. So what you're going to have right now is something that looks like this. It should be smooth right through here. The next pieces that we want are our two 6 by 8 1/4. They do not have any scoring on them. So what we're going to end up doing on the side that we wrote on, we will put our score tape. And you can see where your hinge is for your book here. The idea of this is just to place centered right in there to make it very clean looking. And it will cover up these edges. Just in case you got it on crooked or whatever, it just makes it look very clean. So let's get these two. They're called inner covers. And the first thing we're going to do is go around the outside like a picture frame. One thing I should say about this piece, in case you're wanting to jump ahead, is you will notice it's 8 1/4 inch tall. That matches up with our inner spine cover. So when you do place this, you will match up the top of this with the top of where you put that inner spine cover. And you'll just center it in between the hinge and the outside. So it will all line up for you. So it should look like this. If you're a beginner, don't jump ahead. Let's do this together. Once we have that, we're going to go one down the middle and a piece on either side. Let's grab our other one and we're going to do the same exact thing, and then we'll burnish it down. Okay, inspect your piece, make sure there is no score tape peeking over the edge. Mine is not, and we're going to take a moment to burnish down our score tape. I'm going to release the score tape backing here and we will place this. Okay, I have one done. It's ready to go. And I'll just come on over here. And again, I'm going to line it up with the top and bottom of that inner spine cover. Make sure I'm away from the hinge. Try to center it between the hinge and the outside best I can. And get this on straight. And now we burnish. Very easy. And all we have left to do after we place these is get our inner pages in. So we'll do this one. I got the backing off, and again I'm going to line it up, making sure I'm away from the hinge, centering it between that hinge and the outside, lining up top and bottom with that. If you get yours on just a little bit crooked, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. By the time we get our decorative paper down, it'll be okay. Probably won't even notice. Okay, so that is what we have. It's pretty clean looking. Let's grab our two inner pages, and what we're going to do is fold on those score lines. We'll use our tool, and we'll have the peek up for right now. Okay. Peaks are up and we have our little area here. All we're going to do is lay a strip of score tape in between the score line and the outside without going onto the peak. So just kind of stay in there. And once you're done with that, we'll burnish down our tape, and then we're going to look to make sure we can't see any score tape. If you see score tape, then you're definitely going to need to clip that because you will be able to see it. Pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to show you first before we do it. I have my hinge down here. Underneath is my score tape. I'm going to release the backing. I'm going to pull up my side of this. This part right here goes straight against it and lines up with that inner spine. Also, all these pieces line up together to make it straight looking. So I just lay it right down and it will go. Make sure you pull your side all the way up, and I'm ready to go with this. So this is straight up. I'm going to push it up against and line it up with the bottom there. Once I have it, I'll go like that. And then I'm going to burnish it. So you can see I am straight with the bottom of my pieces here. And definitely burnish. And when I'm done, I do go back over and burnish, make sure I got everything down. And we'll go burnish from this side. Okay, the next one is super simple. We're going to release the score tape backing. And so the sticky is down here. Here's my flap. This is so easy. All we do is we take that, we butt it up right next to this, line it up with top and bottom, and place. And then we burnish. And they should fall in line for you. If you get yours on just a little bit crooked, that's okay. So when you are done, you should look like this. I hope you can see. I'm going to erase this. You don't have to, but I'm going to. So right now, close it up, and I want you to write front. Open it up. I want you to put a 1. Here's our page, first page. We're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, back. We are now moving on to decorating the outside. We're on to decorating the outside of our album. I'm going to stick this off to the side. And I'm going to grab my paper cutter. There are no pre-cuts for this. The first thing I would like you to know is that when I tell you to measure, I'm going to tell you to start from the left and measure over this way. We may have to turn our paper or whatever the way I'm showing you and then measuring over this way. And the reason why is I don't want to have to tell you to measure down, over, up, all around. I want to stay consistent, and that's how I teach, is starting from here, measuring over. Unless we have a panel page with some panels on it, I might tell you to just cut in the middle. So let's begin. In your paper pack, you will find this print. It is lovely. I'm going to move this camera up just a little bit there. There. On the back, it is this. First thing we're going to do is we are going to turn this sideways. Your writing is going to be up here, and you are going to have this flower down here. We're going to start here, and we are going to measure over 8 3/8 and cut. So 8 3/8, and we're cutting. Now the piece that falls off, we're going to stick this in our reserve pile. Your reserve pile is your scrap pile. I've always called it a reserve because we're reserving these pieces to use later on or in just a little bit in our album. So our next cut, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. So we'll cut that right in half now. So now you're going to have 2 pieces that look like this. I'm going to get that out of the way. This piece over here is going to be for our back, and this piece with the flowers down here is going to be for our front. Now this is going to be short width-wise because we do have the wrap to go around, and it is fine. But if we were to stick this on our piece and center that top and bottom, so you'll still be able to see a black border here and here, and just a little bit on the side that kind of matches what we got there. We're going to be gluing that down. Now for me, I like to use score tape. So the first thing I'm going to do is put score tape around the outside like a picture frame. If you have any score tape that hangs over, clip that off. So I've got my score tape all the way around. I'm going to go 1 down the middle. And I'm going to go 1 on each side of that. And then we're going to burnish. I'm going to remove the score tape backing, and I will show you when I place this, but you can also add some glue, and I will show you what I use the glue for. You can squiggle some in between if you want, but I use the glue to help me to maneuver this. Score tape is not forgiving, so once it's down, and we do want score tape not to be forgiving, but what I'm going to do so that it gives me some room is I'm going to squirt some glue right along the bottom. That way when I place this down to the right and I'm working on the front, if I need to maneuver this a little bit, I can. So just do the best you can on this. If it's a little crooked, that's okay. Chances are you are not going to notice by the time you're done. So I've got all that down, and I do have some glue that is seeping out of the sides there. So I'm going to just clean that up. So there is the front. Let's flip it over. The back, here's my edge, and I am going to bring that all the way over, leaving a border here, here, and here, and we'll have wider right over here. I'm going to place my score tape exactly how I did the front, all the way around like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side, and then I'm going to place it. Okay, here's my edge. Here's the spine over here, so I'm going to bring it over as best I can. And as straight as I can, and place it. And we'll burnish. Okay, so here's our front. If you have the vinyl, what you're going to do is you're 8.5 inches tall by 11 inches wide if you're working with a full sheet. So you want it 8.5 inches tall. You'll just measure over 4 inches and cut. So your ending piece will be 4 inch by 8.5. So what you're going to want to do once you have that, and I'm going to get my fabric tack out now, and I'm going to show you first. What you're going to do is place this up against your spine, and if you were to look at it like this, you'll see that you'll have overhang. So you'll want to try and get that overhang even on each side. So then when we do end up wrapping this, it'll have the same amount in the front as in the back, and it will cover. So right now I'm just kind of wrapping around to see where I need to be. And then I'll make a pencil mark, so that will be my mark. And here's the trick. Do not open it up to place this down. And the reason why is because if you lay it flat and you glue this down, you won't be able to open this. So once you've made your mark, it's a good idea to take your ruler from the edge and kind of look to see how far over you are. And then what you can do is come down here and make that same mark on the measurement where I am in right there. Okay, it's time to put our fabric tack down. I have a bottle that is almost out that I'm going to use. And I am going to place my glue here. And most importantly, you're going to want to get this edge, your spine edge. So that's all we're going to do for right now. What do I got on there? So I'm going to line this up, top and bottom, where it's supposed to be. That looks about right. And again, I'm going to just kind of smooth that down and kind of keep this. I like to place a hand here so it stays where it's supposed to be. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to start getting right in there in the crease. Whoops. Come on, you. And this one's almost out. I have another bottle. And we're going to get it all over the spine, and again, right on this edge for sure. Okay, I think I'm pretty good there. So now I'm going to stand this up and I'm going to push it over. Make sure that gets there and that it stays even. If you have any glue that seeps out, you can wipe that off. Get that around there. And so now what I have is back here, and I'm going to make sure I get along that area, and now I'm just going to place it right here. I'm going to get this as even as I can. Sometimes it shifts around on you. Okay, good to go. I'm going to stand this up. And again, I'm going to make sure I push this over to smooth it out, and I wrap it to make sure it stays straight. And my book is, again, open. And that should get you on there pretty straight. If you are using the art glitter glue, you're might have to use some binder clips or something to keep your edges down while it glues. That's why I use the fabric tack for this. Okay, just making sure it's all down. That looks pretty good to me. So this is my front. There's my back. I'm a little shorter in the back. I'm not going to worry too much about that. What we're going to do is give this time to glue down and dry. In the meantime, let's get a couple strips of our bling. Cut 2 strips of your bling that are single rowed so that they fit from top to bottom, just like that. For the front, and you'll have one for the back. I'm going to use my art glitter glue now. And while that spine is drying, I'm going to get this on so then this can dry. So I think I got that still drying. I'm tapping that down. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to get the other one on here. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to set this off to the side so that can dry. In the meantime, in your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print. On the other side, it looks like this. I'm going to get my paper cutter out. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it this way. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. And that's going to put you right here towards the bottom of that brown line. So 4 7/8. This piece here, let's put in our reserves. The next thing we're going to do is stick this on our paper cutter. Now you see the brown line, but you also see the skinny brown line. We're going to put this on our paper cutter and we're going to cut just right on that line. So as best I can. This piece, put in your reserves. Now what I'm going to do is come over to this side on that skinny brown line and I'm going to cut straight down. I'm going to get this out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors with this piece and I'm going to cut out and around the roses and the leaf, and then I'll come back to that skinny brown line and follow it over. So I'll show you mine in just a moment so that you are clear what you need to do. So this is the top part. I'm going to put that in my reserves, but as you can see, this is all I did was cut out and around those pieces. You should have some leftover scrap black cardstock from when you were cutting your off the PDF for your pages. What we're going to do with this is we're going to glue this down to some black cardstock. Okay. And you're going to want to leave about a 1/16 inch of black showing. I'm just using something that is straight. Anyway, I'm going to cut out and around this, and I'll leave that same 1/16 inch black border around that. And we'll definitely want to burnish this down before cutting and wipe up any glue that might seep out. Okay, I'm going to start cutting and I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. You don't have to be real fussy about cutting, just do the best you can. Here is mine, and I'm going to trim this up just a little bit. all we're going to do with this is we're going to apply glue and we're going to center it right on in there. Whoops. So I'm centering it between my bling and the outside as best I can, and also pushing up just a little bit. So it kind of looks like that. I'm going to open this up because this is dry. And you can also use your tool to help burnish some of that down. Okay. Now it's time for the flowers. If you chose. If you don't want to use flowers, you don't have to. But I'm going to glue my flowers down like this. I'm going to place my leaves right here. So I'm going to glue that down first. Right about here, I'd say. I'll get my larger flower and I'll glue that down right here. And then I'll take my two smaller ones. One will go here. And one will go right here. Allow this to dry, and then now we are going to be moving on to page 1. Our cover is complete. Page 1, we have some pre-cuts. Let's go over them. We cut 4 pieces of cardstock that were 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. And what we did on each one of these is we laid these down so we were 4 3/4 across, and we scored each at a 1/2 inch. And you can go ahead and fold on those score lines. And there was a note, all you needed to do was label one of them. So fold on each one of these on those score lines. And we'll stick these off to the side. We had one more. It was 1 1/2 by 4 inch, and we called it a strap. We laid this on our scoring board, and we scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. And you can go ahead and fold on that as well. I'm going to get my paper cutter out. In your paper pack, you'll find this gorgeous print. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to turn it so that the horse is sideways like this. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. So 8 inches. This piece, put in your reserves. Now we'll look at it like this, measure over 6 inches and cut. So 6 inches. So now you have 2 pieces that are 6 inch by 8 inch. The one with the horse, I'd like you to set off to the side. You don't need to put this in your reserves. This we're going to hold off to the side for our page 2. This is our page 1, our base decorated paper. What we're going to do is get our waterfall ready. And we'll use glue for this. It'll be much easier. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Each one, you're going to have your hinge off to the left. And we did fold on that. So you can fold it out to look at it right now. And we're going to apply glue to this little hinge area. Now we're going to fold it back, and we're going to place it down all the way to the left hand of our page here. And make sure it's straight. Once you have it down, use your tool to burnish, and then you can open it up and burnish it this way as well. We'll grab another one, and the hinge will be off to the left, and we'll place some glue. And this is really easy now. We're going to fold that back, and all we're going to do is line that up next to the other one and place it. Now what you might want to do is fold it over to take a peek, but they should line up easily, and that's why we're using glue, so that you can have an opportunity to shift it over if needed. We're going to grab another one, and we're just going to keep placing it right up next to the other one, straight with it. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Before I burnish, I'm going to take a look, make sure it's straight. That looks pretty straight. And I'll burnish that down. The last one, we'll just erase that. We don't need that on there. And we will place our glue. Now, if you placed your one with writing on any one of those, just erase it. In the notes it said to write lightly. So then I'll fold that over. It looks straight, and I will burnish. Let's grab our strap. Now our hinge is going to be off to the right hand side. You have two score lines. You have an inside and an outside. On that outside one, I want you to pinch and crease so you'll still be able to see your other score line. What I'd like you to do now is just fold this right on over. I want you to slip this evenly so it's back behind, so it looks kind of like this. Pinch and hold that so it doesn't slide. If it slides on you, then you'll want to realign that. So we're just going to place a little glue back there. We'll burnish that down. Okay. Now we can fold back and make sure that we do not have any glue seeping out. If you do, definitely wipe that up. So now we're going to push back against the other score line and then in so it's kind of flat. Let's open that up, and we need a magnet. We need two. We're going to grab a plus and a minus. I'm going to need to switch off for just a minute to get my dinner out. There's a plus and a minus. Let's work with the plus. So what we're going to do is get that adhesive backing off there. We'll come in a good inch and center it between the sides there. Next, here's the mate. It should go right on top. And then we're going to remove this backing. Okay, for this, you're going to want to hold this down flat with your hand. And you're going to bring this over. Don't pull it over. You still want to have that spacing in there that we created. If you want to give it a little bend, you can. But it just comes straight over onto the other one and you press. Okay, so once this page is, it'll bow back up on you like this. But once the page is flat and in the book, it will hold that down, giving you room to place your photos and whatever's needed. Now these magnets are really strong. So what you want to do is, instead of pulling straight off, because your magnet may come off, they're very strong, is you can grab a corner of this and kind of shimmy it up a little and over. All right, I'll be right back. Got my dinner out of the oven, and I'll be taking a break until tomorrow, but I wanted to finish up some of this. So what we're going to do is grab a couple pieces out of our reserves, these two. The first thing I would like you to do is, on this one with the beautiful horse, is you see right here we have a thick brown line going down. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter and just kind of trim it right on that thick line. So what came off was just a little teeny bit. Measure over 4 inches and cut. Don't glue this down. I'm going to move that back out of the way. Now on this piece, what I would like you to do is turn it so that it looks like this. Measure over about a 1/2 inch and cut. Put that in your reserves. This piece, looking at it so it's like this, measure over 4 inches and cut. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first glue down this piece and so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm just going to stick this right back behind so that the other black cardstock doesn't mess with your eyes. So I'm adding glue to the back of this piece, and I'm going to have this part down here in the corner. Now when I do this, I'm going to center this side to side so it leaves even amount of black, and I'll leave a little bit of a black border down here. Now I'm going to apply glue to this whole piece. We are conserving on paper. We only have one paper pack, so I am choosing our papers wisely, trying to. So with this one, you'll just make sure you're lined up over here with that one. You have that black border up there, and you kind of overlap onto the other one, and you can barely tell that these two were seamed together. Now when burnishing, be careful of your magnet. So that is what it looks like. Now for the rest of these, we're going to be cutting 1/2-inch strips. Okay. In your reserves, you will have this print. The horse is down here. It's 4 inches by 12 inches. And looking at it where your leaf is over here, measure over 5 1/4 and cut. Now looking at it like this, you're going to be doing a series of 1/2-inch cuts, and what I would like you to do is measure over 1/2-inch cut, measure over 1/2-inch, keep making your 1/2-inch cuts until you can't anymore. So your final pieces will be 1/2-inch by 5 1/4. So you should have probably about 8 of these 1/2-inch strips. So the first thing we're going to do is just open this up. And what you can do is take one of these, and again, I'm going to slip something back behind here. You're going to place one of these, and you'll center it top and bottom and leave yourself a little bit of a black border here. And you'll take another one, and you will place it over here. Okay, so you'll glue that down. Next, what you'll do is the same thing. You will grab 2 of your pieces. One will go here, one will go here. And then you'll go to your next one. You'll grab one here, and you'll glue those down. And then on this last piece here, you'll have one right here. And then there should be one more, but it will be a little short, but we can still use that for right there, right on that. So let's do that really quick. I have all of mine done. So this is what it looks like from the front, and then when you open it up, the only thing we have left to do is place paper over here. You should have this in your reserves. It's what we cut the 1/2-inch strips off. What I would like you to do is measure over 1 3/8 and cut, measure over again 1 3/8 and cut. So I'm going to grab my paper cutter just so you are clear. So 1 3/8. There we go. There's 1 3/8. And again, 1 3/8. And I'll put this in my reserves. Now with both of these, measure over 3 1/8 and cut. And these little guys I'll just stick in my reserves. So I think by now you have the hang of how I tell you how to measure and cut. So with these, we're just going to flip these over. Let's see what we got on the back. We have a beautiful flower right there. And we have this. I'm going to do this side. So I'll flip this over. And I'm putting glue on the side of the horse image, his leg. And I'm going to get around this. And when I place this, I'm going to make sure that I leave a border, but most importantly, I am not on that score line, any of those. I'm away from that outside score line. Okay, let's close this up, and we'll snap that, and I'll glue with the other part of the flower up. Let me see how that looks. Page 1 is complete. Let's flip it over to the back. We're going to place score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on each side. Do not remove your score tape. We are not going to place page 1 in the book. We're going to finish page 2 first. We'll get page 2 in the book. Then we place page 1. And the reason why is page 1 is on the back side of the chipboard covers, which is larger than our inner pages. So it's easier to place our page 2 first, get that all lined up, and then place page 1 to line up with page 2. So let's get this all ready to go. When you're done placing your score tape, take a moment and burnish it. Page 1 is complete. We'll set this off to the side. We are now moving on to page 2. We're on page 2 and we have 2 pre-cuts to review. The first one was a 5 by 7 3/8 and we called it our fold out. We laid this on our scoring board, so we were 5 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 and 5/8. Next, we had a 3 1/2 by 5 1/4 inch piece, and we called it a pocket. The first thing we did was laid this on our scoring board, so we were 3 1/2 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. Then the instructions said, now turn your piece so you are laying 5 1/4 across. Score at a 1/2 inch and 4 3/4. Really quick, what we're going to do is this is our pocket. And you can see where the score lines meet and create a little square. We're going to cut those little squares out. And we're going to assemble this pocket really quick. We're going to fold on the score lines. And use our tool. Let's grab our glue. Now here is the bottom little flap. What you're going to do is pull that down. We're going to push in our sides. We're going to come down in the corner and place a little glue. And the reason why I say to pull in your sides is because you don't want glue over here. You don't want to get it past where that hits on the inside. And we're going to do that over here as well. So it's just like that. Once you have that, you fold in your sides and then you pull up the bottom. And then you're going to burnish down here in the corner. And there is our pocket. Now know that this bottom part, this little lip, is the bottom of the pocket. And so the top has nothing. We already cut and set aside our page 2. We're going to attach our fold out. So you see those 2 score lines? We're going to fold on those. Just take your time. They are very narrow lines. That is going to create a spacing for us. And as you can see, I've folded on both. When this comes in and done, you will see it creates a spacing for us. Okay, so bring it out. You have an inside and an outside score line. On the outside one, we're going to pinch and crease. You will still be able to see that inside score line. We're going to wrap that back behind. So we're going to push that all the way in and we're going to center that so we have our decorated paper showing here and here. Once you have it where it needs to be, you're going to pinch and hold that and flip it over. If you can feel your paper slip, please realign it or it might go on crooked. So we'll just put a little glue there. And I like to keep my hand down so it doesn't slide on me. And then we will press that down and use our tool to burnish. So now what we are going to do is open this up to inspect to make sure no glue seeped into our spacing area here, our score lines. Next we can close it and fold back on that other one that we were able to see and then push. and that creates our spacing there. Okay, let's open this up. We're going to find our paper, and then we're going to place our pocket in there. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. Measure over 4 1/8 and cut. Place the bigger piece in reserve, so this is what you have. Let's turn it this way. Measure over 7 1/8 and cut. You want the bigger piece. If you were to lay this down in there, it will give you a nice black border, and it will leave you about 1/8 inch away from that outside score line. Before we glue this piece down, let's grab a magnet. You want a plus and a minus. With your piece open, your fold out open, come in about 1 inch and place that. Now close it, making sure you have your spacing, and you flip it over and let the mate find it. Now you'll notice that this part, the minus, shows up, so you're going to have to squirt a little bit of glue underneath that. And then what you can do is shimmy it up a little bit. Apply glue to your piece here, and we're going to place this in there. And we'll use our tool. Whoops, I got quite a bit of glue seeping out the sides there. And be careful around your magnet. And I'm just going to clean up any glue that wants to seep out. Okay, next is our pocket. We're going to put glue on these tabs here, side little tabs, and along the bottom. The bottom piece is going to go down here so that the opening is at the top. We're going to place this down, and we're going to come all the way over to the black cardstock, the side, without going over. We'll place it at the bottom of our decorated paper, and that should fit, and we're able to kind of pucker it up a little. Make sure that you do not go over to your score line. And then we can press down here. In your reserves, you'll have this piece. It's the leftover cutting from this. We're going to look at it with the side that has this. We'll turn it sideways, measure over 2 7/8 and cut. Apply glue, and you'll bring it down to the bottom of your pocket, and that should give you a black little lip there. We'll glue that down. Let's close that up and find our paper for here. In your reserves, you will find this piece. On the back, it looks like this. Measure over 4 1/8 and cut. If you were to lay this down, it will be a perfect fit for us. Let's glue that down. Once we're done burnishing, we'll clean up any glue that might be seeping out. Let's open that up. On your very last page, you will find the cut apart piece. And we're just going to cut out and around this horse. And I'll place this in my reserves. I'm going to get a pair of smaller scissors out. I'm just going to cut out and around, leaving the green and around the horse. I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I'm done. I didn't get too detailed with mine. This is what mine looks like. I'm going to slide that out of the way. Find some leftover black cardstock from your cuttings. We're going to glue this piece down, and we're going to strengthen it a little bit with some black cardstock. And once we get this down to black cardstock, we're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a black border. And I'll show you what mine looks like in just a moment. Okay, I have mine cut out. Nothing special about that. What we're going to do is we're going to glue it down like this, and we're going to leave it so it is somewhat of a tuck back there, maybe for a tag or something. So I'm going to rotate this over, put some glue down there. I'm going to put just a dab right underneath his nose. And I'm going to place this. So in case you have maybe a small picture or a tag you would like to stick back behind, you can do so. Page 2 is complete. Let's flip that over. We're going to place score tape around the back side like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on either side, and let's not forget to remove that. And then I'll meet you over at the book because we're going to place this. I have the score tape backing off of mine. Here's page 2, and I am going to place something back behind so you can see. Now when I place this, I am going to leave at least 1/8 inch away from the hinge, the page hinge. And I'm going to try and center this top and bottom. And by leaving 1/8 inch away, that will guarantee that I also will still have a black border over here. So I have mine down. I'm going to open it up. Be careful of your magnet. I like to place my finger over the magnet so I don't gouge it with my tool. And I'll get around that. So there's page 2. Let's move on and get our page 1. So you're going to remove the score tape backing. And why don't I go ahead and do that really quick? So you're actually seeing, and I'm not showing and doing the other. You'll be able to see as I do it. The idea of this now is to line up the bottom of this decorative paper with this. Now be mindful where your hinge is. A good place to put this, you see the seam line on your inner page here, your inner black cardstock? You might want to bring that over to the seam so long as you're away, far enough away from that hinge. 1/4 inch is good, 1/2 inch, as long as you can get it there and get it on there and still be in the book there. So I'm going to, without getting my head in the video, I'm just going to lay this right like this and go for it. So I have that in. And once you have it in, you're definitely going to have to take the time to burnish down really good on each of your pages. So I just kind of open up mine and kind of do my thing here. So page 1 and 2 are in the book. We are now moving on to page 3. We're on page 3 and 4. We're going to complete them together because the pages are identical. On the pre-cutting list, we cut 2 pieces that were 3.5 by 7. They were identical. We called them a pocket. On each one of these, what we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we were 3.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2 inch. Then the instructions said to turn it, so now we are 7 inches across. We scored at 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches. We're going to go ahead and get these pockets ready to go. We're going to do it the same way we did before. So our score lines create a little square down in the corner. So we will cut out those squares on each one of our pieces. Next, we're going to fold on those score lines. Let's grab our glue. So if you remember, we fold in the sides and we have the flap at the bottom. And then what we do is we place the little glue down in the corners of our pieces. And then we fold in the sides and bring up the bottom. both of our pockets are made. Let's set those off to the side. We're going to get into our paper pack. So in your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print, and on the back, it looks like this. We have a couple cuts to make, so let's turn this sideways. We're going to measure over 1 inch and cut. So we cut off 1 inch. You can place this in your reserves for now. Now we're going to look at it like this, where her and the horse are down here. Measure over 8 inches and cut. This is the piece that we want. Our next cut, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. This is going to be our page 3 and our page 4. Very easy. Let's grab our pockets. We'll flip it over. We'll place glue on those flaps. The opening of our pocket's here, so this part's going to go down here. We're just going to bring it all the way to the bottom of our decorative paper. And you may be able to still see some decorative paper on the side. I'm going to kind of puff mine up just a little bit there. Make sure I'm even. So I can get a little more in that pocket. And we're going to do the same exact thing with this one. We're going to get our paper for this. Now in your reserves you will have this piece. This is the piece that we cut off from this. Turn it like this. So as you can see, I have this here. There's that on the back. We're only going to take a sliver off this. So measure over 2 7/8 and cut. The only thing that came off, like I said, was a sliver off that. Next, all we need to do is measure over 6 inches and cut. After making that cut, you'll have a couple of these. I'm just going to turn mine over, and we will bring this down to the bottom of our pocket and glue that down. And that will leave us with a little black lip there. You can arrange these whichever side you want up. It will look good both ways. And I think I'll go with some writing over here. In your reserves, you will have this beautiful print. And I want to get out this one, but I want to make sure that we're using our paper cutter to keep it straight. All I'm going to do is stick this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut right along that thin brown line, right down there. This piece I'll put in my reserves. So for the rest of this now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out and around this piece. And I'll show you mine as soon as I am done. These leftover pieces I will put in my reserves. Grab a piece of scratch black cardstock, and we're going to glue this down. We're going to create a little tuck for our page 3. So we are backing it with our black cardstock, and now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a black border, and I'll show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. So this is what mine looks like. Now what we're going to do over here is it's going to be at an angle. We only want to put glue underneath here and down over here. So I'm only going to go up maybe halfway behind this, halfway. So I'm rotating it, and across the bottom. And I'm just going to set that off. You don't want to go over your page with the tip of this more than 1/8 of an inch. So now what we created there is like a little pocket that you can slide a picture mat behind. You can put a tag in there, photograph, whatever it is that you'd like. Page 3 and 4 are complete. Let's flip them over. Score tape around the back side like a picture frame. One down the middle and one on each side, and I will meet you at the book. We'll place these together. All right, let's get to page 3 and 4, and I'm going to slip something back behind my page 4 so you can see what I'm doing. And I have both the score tape off the back of both my pieces. Here is page 3, and we are definitely going to need to come in at least 1/8 of an inch away from our hinge here. And we'll try to center that top and bottom. And I think that's good enough for me. Now for page 4, same thing. Come in 1/8 inch away. And we'll place that. There's 3 and 4. We are now on to page 5. We're on page 5 and we have a few pre-cuts. The first one was 2 pieces we cut at 5 7/8 by 8 inch, and we called them fold-outs. And we did the same thing on each one. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 5 7/8 across. We scored each one at 1/2 and 5/8. Next, we had a 4 by 6, and we called it a pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 4 inches across. We scored at 1/2 inch. We then turned this, so now we are 6 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 5 1/2. Let's start by getting our pocket assembled. We're going to do this the same way we've done other ones, cutting out the squares. Then we'll fold on the score lines, and then we will glue our flaps back and around. There's our pocket. Let's set that off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It looks like this. The first thing we're going to do is turn this sideways, measure over 8 inches, and cut. This is what you should have. Measure over 6 inches and cut. Flip these 2 over. Now this one with the writing we're going to use for our page 6. So just set that off to the side. We'll grab that when we're on page 6. This is our base decorative page that we're going to use. Let's grab our fold outs, and we're going to fold on those score lines. And then we're going to attach it. So one's going to have a hinge off to the right, and the other one will have a hinge off to the left. Let's start with placing the hinge that goes off to the left. You have an outside score line and an inside score line. On the outside one, we're going to pinch and crease, so we'll still be able to see our other one. We're going to slip that back behind. We're going to pinch, and we're going to glue our flap down. I'm not going to push back on my other one yet. I'll do that at the same time as I do this one. Our hinge is going to be off to the right on this one. So you have an inside and an outside score line. On the outside, we'll pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other one. And we'll just slide that over the other. If you feel it slip, realign. Okay. We'll check to make sure we don't have any glue seeping out, and then we can fold back on those other ones and press in. So that should give us some spacing in there. We're going to set our magnet right now. We're going to open up our left one. We'll grab a plus and a minus. We're going to come in somewhere in the middle, come in about 1 inch. Now you'll want to keep this one down, place the mate, And now we're just going to fold this over and press. And I'm just going to kind of shimmy this up so I can get it unattached there. And we'll open these up. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it's the horses. Let's turn this sideways, measure over 7 3/4 and cut. This is what you should have now. We're going to do 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. We'll measure over again 5 inches and cut. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue and we're going to place this over here, leaving a little bit of a border. That will also keep you away from that outside score line. We'll just center it in there. If you'd rather have this side up, then place your glue on this side. I'm going to have the other one. And we'll get this one on. So we have those done. Let's fold in this one. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print. On the back, it looks like this. What I would like you to do is to turn this upside down, measure over 5 inches, and cut. This piece right here, I would like you just to set off to the side. And let's see here. Actually, I think we're going to close this and work on here. So we'll turn it looking like this. We'll measure over, let's go 7 3/4 and cut. So we're going to do this one first. Apply glue, and we are going to glue that down to the front there. Time for the pocket. The opening is at the top. Let's get this on. We'll bring it down to the bottom of our decorative paper, and we will place this. Now we had a cutting, and this is in our reserves, as you can see, and it looks like this on the back. Let's turn this sideways, measure over 3 3/8 and cut. Now you have a choice. You can either place it down like this, it'll give us a little bit of a black lip there, or you can do this side. It's up to you, really. I think I'm going to go with the white up on this. If you would prefer to have that, you can. Okay, let's open that up. We'll get our paper, which is this. Turn it upside down, measure over 5 inches, and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to turn it this way. We'll measure over 7 3/4 and cut. Let's apply glue. If you prefer this side, use it. I'm going to have this side up with the horses and the flowers. In your reserves, you will have this, and we're going to cut out the bale of hay here. Let's cut out and around this. We're going to make this so this is a little bit of a tuck. So let's grab some scrap cardstock. We're going to glue this down, and we'll cut out and around it, leaving just a little bit of a black border. This is what mine looks like. In your paper pack, let's grab this. This is right behind the cover. We're going to go for this one right down here. Get that out. I'll put this in my reserves. I'm going to cut out and around this really quick. Next, we're going to glue this down to some black cardstock, and then we'll cut out and around this one, leaving a black border. So what we're going to do now that we have both of our pieces, we're going to put a little bit of glue right here. And we're going to bring this one so it's slightly higher than that one. And we can just kind of arrange that a little bit. So it's like this. So while the glue's still setting, we're going to flip this over. We're going to put a little glue here. We're going to put a little glue on the side. And we're going to put some glue right across the bottom. So it's going to create a little tuck area for us. And it should fit right across our page there. So what it's supposed to do is create a pocket for us, a little one up front, so we can put a photograph in there if we would like. Mat a picture mat and get a photo right up in there. There is nothing else that I would like to do. We have all this open space for just placing our photographs. Let's close it up. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle and one on each side, and we will place this in our book together. I have the score tape backing off. And for this one, now what I'm going to do is come all the way over to the side of this rather than come in from here. And the reason why, it's pretty bulky over here. So I'm just going to bring it to the side without going over. And I'll place that. Page 5 is complete. We are now moving on to page 6. We're on page 6 and we have 2 pre-cuts. The first one was a 3.5 by 7 when we called it a top pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3.5 inches across. We scored a 1/2 inch. We turned this, so now we are 7 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 and 6.5. Next, we had a 4.5 by 7. We called it a bottom pocket. We placed this on our scoring board. We are 4.5 inches across. We score at a 1/2 inch. We turn this. We are now 7 inches across, and we scored at a 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches. That's our bottom pocket. Let's pull this back in front of us. We held this off to the side for our page 6. We have 2 pockets to assemble here, and we're going to do these the same way we've done the other. Cut out the squares, fold, and glue down your flaps. So let's do that and get these ready to go. I have both of my pockets assembled, and we're going to start with the bottom pocket. We're going to apply glue, and we will bring this down to the bottom of our page. And I'm going to pucker mine up just a little bit. Make sure I didn't go over here so it's straight. Next, we have our top pocket. So that's exactly what it is. It lays on top of this one. And we'll put this one down at the bottom, right on top of the other. Now, a lot of times in my tutorials, I will go ahead and put the decorated paper on the back one first, but I don't think it's necessary. In your reserves, you will have this very long strip. Measure over 5 7/8 and cut. We may have to trim down the sides, but I want you to slide that right in there, and it should fit. And we're going to glue that down, leaving a little bit of a black lip. And I think I'll do with the flowers up, to be honest. A little more of that showing. There we go. Once I get my stuff in there, it lays down. It won't look wrinkly or anything. In your reserves, you will find this on the back. It looks like this. Let's turn that sideways, measure over 2 7/8 and cut. This is what you should have. We're going to turn that upside down so more of the brown is over here. Measure over 6 inches and cut. This is our final piece. Now you have a choice. You can go like this, or you can have some of the green like this. I'm going to have some of the green up. We are going to do something on this top pocket when we're done. In your reserves, you will have this. Let's cut this oval out with the horse. It's very pretty. And let's see. Let's cut out Lucky in Love. Now, if you don't want Lucky and Love, I mean, you can clip out whichever one luck is headed your way or whatever. I'm going to go with Lucky and Love. Let's take a moment to cut out and around each one of these images, and I'll show you mine when I'm done. I have both of mine, and by the way, there is no right or wrong way to fussy cut out your pieces. It's just whatever you want. We're going to take Lucky and Love, and we're going to put some glue under here. And we're just going to place it. I'm going to go up just a little bit higher here. And this will work for me. I'm going to glue this completely down now. And I'm going to cut out and around, leaving a black border. I have mine cut out. It is not perfect, but that's okay. So I'm going to be placing this right down here, and I'm going to make it so I can still tuck behind. I do want to make sure I get these down at the bottom. And I think I'm just going to go up a little bit higher here. And I'm going to place this right in the middle. So now if you want to tuck something back behind, whether it be a photograph, whatever, and you can still get in your pockets as well. Can't believe we're already done here. Flip this over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on either side, and I will meet you at the book. I have the score tape off, and I actually started running out of score tape. I was working on a roll I already had open, but if you find that has happened to you, maybe you made an error with your score tape, or maybe there just wasn't enough on the roll, you can use glue, and I'm not a fan of that, and I always open up another score tape. But if you don't have any and you need to use glue, just make sure you spread that glue out evenly. And you have it covered where you need it. Okay, so for this, here is our hinge, and we're going to try and line up at the bottom of that. And I'm going to just go kind of like where my seam is there. And I'm going to place this, trying to get it straight. And page 6 is done. Let's take a look at this. I think it came out beautiful. I really did. I like this. So for an easy and quick one, especially if you're a beginner, this is a great layout for you. We have our thing here. Now, there is leftover paper, and I prefer to make my picture mats with the pattern paper that matches. Now sometimes that's not an option for us. We just don't have enough paper. That's when I bring in a solid colored cardstock, and I will use that. But I will show you a picture mat and how I like to do it, just to help you there. I also have a video that is for help with picture mats to give you some ideas. Boy, this came out really nice. I am really happy with this. Okay, let's do a quick picture mat together. And I'm going to base this off Tanner's picture, and I'm going to give you a measurement. So we're going to go off this. You'll want to measure your picture. I left a little white border on mine, but this is about 3 5/8 wide by about 4 3/4 tall. Picture mats are all according to taste. You can do them any way you want. So for this, I want my decorative paper to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to start there. So I'm going to cut a piece of this that's in my reserve, 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. So here's the piece that I got. Now if I was to lay this down, that's going to give me a nice background, and that's what I look for. Not everybody does that. So there is one piece to the puzzle. Now I like to back this with black cardstock. It ends up looking like a triple mat. So cut a piece of black cardstock. That is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. So here is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. And I am going to apply glue to this, and I'm going to center it right on in there. I'll kind of show you what this looks like. Now you don't have to go by these measurements. You can have a slimmer, or you can just not do it at all. This is just how I like to do them. And then I'm going to show you, because not everyone uses my size. Maybe you have a 4x6 or something like that. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to figure that out if you're not good with measurements and all that you can do. So there is my mat, and then all I would do is apply glue to this and center it in there. And to me, that looks good. That's nice, and it matches in with my collection here. As you can see. Okay, so what to do if you are not good with measurements. I'm going to show you. Take your picture, and I'm going to use this as an example. Take your picture and lay it down. Now some people don't like the white border. Here's another way to do it. Now this one, I'm not going to waste this paper. I can still get a border, as you can see. If I scoot it down, there's border here and here. So what you can do is, once you find the size border around your picture, you can make a pencil mark where you need to cut it. So let me cut that. That was hard to see the pencil. I think I got that right. Okay, so now you have a matting size. So this matting size, because I wanted to use what I had, I didn't make it a thicker one. Now, if you have scraps, look in your scraps first to see if you have anything that's going to fit. And I'm just going to grab a new piece here. This is what I do first with my scraps. Then if I have any whole sheets, I can make the border wider if I want, or whatever. So I'm just going to place this down. So now I know I want a little bit of a black border. So just make sure that when you make your pencil marks, you're leaving yourself a border. So I'm going to cut this now. All right, I've got this cut. Once you get it cut, I've got glue on me. You can measure. This is actually 4 by about 5 1/8. So that's going to give me a slim border around. This now becomes my matting, and there is my picture mat and my photograph. I still get that border on there, and it looks good. See? And it looks like it's a triple matting. So let's just open that up, and I believe it will fit right here in that pocket. And you can glue it down. So you can use any side you want. And that is the easiest way to determine which size photo mat you want for your photograph if you're not good with measurements. You can just kind of play around. And like I said, I usually go to my scraps first. And then I'll go and cut into my whole sheets. So it's all a matter to taste. Now another thing that I like to do is make folders. And what I can do is, if I see a print I like, and I'm just going to use this, I'm going to cut this down a little bit. And I'll show you what I do. And let's say I want to make this into a folder so that when I open it up, I can get some photographs. So I'm just going to place this down. I'm going to leave a little bit of a black border over here. Folders do not have to always be the same size. My folders are different sizes. So I've got this here. I've left a black border here. I've got a black border there. And then I'll just come over here and score what I think I need. Then I'll fold. Or you can just make folders to whatever size. I'm going to cut off this excess. And now I'm going to glue this down, leaving a border. Now what you can do is create your folders and then later come back. If you don't have enough of your decorated paper, you just use solid in there. So now I've got a folder and I can place 2 photographs. So if I had my paper down in there, or don't do paper, but you can situate them. Maybe one up this way, maybe one down that way. You have room right there to journal. Another thing you can do sometimes is when you have something like that with a magnet, you can just clip it right on in there. So that's done for me. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This album was quick, easy, beginner friendly, and we only had to use one paper pack. And I hope you like that. Happy crafting, everybody, and I will see you again real soon.